LLMs are looking for answers, but they cannot give the answers unless it's from an authoritative source. So that was the main reasons why one of the main reasons why I built GStacker was because Google is looking for authoritative sources that it can rely on to send information to the LLMs. Because remember, Google is the database for pretty much every LLM that's out there.
Hey, I'm Guy Powell, and welcome to the next episode of The Backstory on Marketing and AI. And if you haven't already done so, please visit ProRelevant.com and sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts. I am the author of the AI Marketing Machine, which is now ready for distribution. You can find it on Amazon and download it, or if you want to buy the print book, it's looking fantastic, and I think you'll really appreciate it. Today I'm interviewing, though, Ferdinand Mellinger of GStacker. And let me tell you a little bit about him. He's got a great background. So, Ferdinand is a systems architect, serial entrepreneur, and the founder of GStacker, which is a patent pending, Google verified AI application that automates authority stacking and entity verification for local businesses navigating the AI search era. GStacker is currently in beta and has already gained attention through major press coverage in a private, application only community of elite users. Ferdinand's career in search began in 1997 as part of the original Backrub team, the Stanford project that became Google. He is the founder of Blue Digital, a digital marketing consultancy, and serves as CGO of OVTLYR. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right either, an AI-powered stock trading platform. Now, that's what I need is one of those. But in any case, with deep expertise in SEO, AEO, GEO, and entity optimization, Ferdinand is, I'm really looking forward to having him on, and let's talk about search. So here we are. Welcome, Ferdinand. So good to have you.
Marketing's operating system has been replaced. Not upgraded, not improved. Replaced, completely and totally replaced. AI isn't a tool you bolt onto your existing marketing organization. It's a fundamental redesign of how marketing thinks, operates, and creates value. And most CMOs are already behind. The AI Marketing Machine is the field guide for marketing leaders who want to get ahead of that curve. Built on more than a decade of the marketing machine methodology and interviews with over 100 CMOs, this book shows you how to harness generative and analytic AI together, without losing the human edge that makes great marketing unforgettable. This isn't theory, this is the playbook. How to redesign your team, how to build AI into the foundation of how you work, how to prove ROI in the boardroom, and how to lead the intelligent marketing machine that wins in the marketplace. Marketing's future is already here. The question is whether you're building it or watching someone else do it. The AI Marketing Machine, available now.
Thank you so much, Guy. I appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you for having me today.
Abs- yeah, absolutely. So, what is your backstory on AI and marketing? How did you get involved in this incredibly cool stuff?
I've always been one of those nerds. Like I've been into computers since I can remember. I mean, my dad worked for JPL when I was a kid. And I remember him bringing home a computer into his room when I was in like kindergarten. So this is like 1982 ish. And I just could. It's really I don't know how to describe it. I just could really I understood how to code from that point on. I don't know how. I can't really describe how, but I just knew how. So ever since then, as technology has evolved, I kind of ride the wave. And I've been dealing with AI honestly since like 2016ish that I've been really like heavy hitting with it. And it's just one of those things to where I think I just it fits my personality. I'm big into data. I love automating things. I like making processes. I like making systems work. I like solving a problem with a system or a process. And now the AI is at this beautiful like blossom era of where it is. You can do so many different things and accomplish so many different things that you weren't able to before.
Yeah, you aren't kidding. It really is. And although there's a lot of people and a lot of companies holding things back, and for good reason. I mean, regulated industries, but it is just such a cool time to be following and being a big part of what's going on with AI. So now you're with GStacker. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so GStacker was it was an inside project that I have been using since 2014. I just didn't want to release it to the public. I had all my VAs doing the process. What we found with GStacker when I started building this was we saw that Google had multiple properties within its ecosystem, meaning Google Drive, Google Doc, Google Slides, Sheets, Calendar. And we started noticing that you could use those properties to build your own authority and to help with your ranking if you did it the right way. So GStacker is years and years of trying to build a systemized process that answers or solves the problem that local businesses normally have, that they just don't have. These local businesses don't have time to sit down and watch a YouTube video and figure out, how do I rank, or how do I make this better, or how do I make sure that this is found in Google, how do I make sure that I have the right headlines, and how do I make sure that I have the right meta schema. That's way too much for a business owner to kind of worry about. So GStacker handles all of that for you, and it builds everything out for you, scanning all of your competitors, looking at what is missing about your brand and the topics that Google wants to find out from you if you want to be that authoritative figure. And then it builds everything for you. There's just like with a couple clicks of a button, because it's just, again, it's too much for business owners to try to figure out all this on their own. And it's not fair at the end of the day to ask these guys. And think of a plumber that has been working all day long, dealing with floods, trying to handle toilets and backups, and then you're gonna have him come home and then go to YouTube for a few hours to try to figure out how he needs to be found. It's just not fair. So that's where GStacker kind of stemmed out of that
Wow.
frustration.
Well, I'm ready. I got to be your first customer because I need to I need to do something with my search. But it's funny. I've had a lot of folks on that are now doing a lot of AEO and GEO, and some of the things that are going on in order to be found properly in the AI search engines is pretty impressive. So it's really cool. Now, though, I have to go back, though. You have an incredible history being part of Google and the team that ended up becoming Google. So tell us a little bit about what that was like, and how do you see that as shaping where you are today with GStacker and some of the other things that you're working on?
Yeah. I think it's. I think people think it's more glamorous than what it really was at the time. It wasn't anything that great. I mean, you're a kid. Craig Silverstein was bugging my mom because she had a big uh, interior design business in a very rich area of Orange County. So they were trying to get data and learn about the community and learn about industries within this like neighborhood. So they were calling my mom on the phone, and she called me on another line, and I'm wondering why he's talking to her about the whole internet thing. And so we got into this conversation on the phone back and forth with each other. And he was like, "How do you know so much about this?" And I was like, "Why are you asking my mom all these questions? Like, why are you there? Like, why are you?" She doesn't know anything about this. So he offered me a job. So that's how I got the job. It wasn't anything like I knew what it was going to be. It's like I went into work. We were trying to move data. We were trying to build algorithms that would understand the data, because yellow pages were huge at the time. And, this is the time when Thomas guides were still being used. But I knew by looking at the screen of what we had, and I knew there was something big with the AOL CDs starting to get passed out. And I knew there was something big, and I knew with what we were trying to build, it was something special. But I was young, so I didn't have the knowledge to kind of protect myself moving forward. So when they became Google, and well, they had a venture capital firm that came in with a management company that just cleared everything out. And when that new management company came in with the money, they got rid of all of us. I mean, we didn't have any. We didn't get our last paycheck. They just didn't show up that next week. So when we went to the office, it was just an empty office. There was no furniture, there was no receptionist, the doors were locked, the parking lot was empty. So all of us were stunned. We were like, "What's going on here? Like, what are we going to do? Like, what happened to our job? Is it a holiday? Like, it was, we didn't know what was going on. So ending at Google wasn't like a good feeling. It was, so that's where GStacker stemmed out of, because I was like, I know what you built. I helped build the patent for this. So I'm going to build my own. And just took me, maybe 30 years.
Yep. It always takes longer than you want. Oh, I get that done over the weekend. And then 5 years later.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, how true, how true. So now, certainly, I mean, up until maybe a year ago, search was search and Google was king and selling ads like crazy. And, at the top, you had the sponsored links and you might have Yelp or some of the other things in the middle, the directory listings or whatever. And then you had the organics, underneath that. But now all of a sudden, people are, if you're into AI, you're not asking, where can I find shoes? You're kind of going into AI and saying, hey, I'm looking for some new shoes or whatever, and I need them to do this and that and the other thing. And all of a sudden now AI search is king. And us as marketers and for our brands, we want to make sure that we show up in there. So what's going on in search? How do small business owners and even big business owners figure this out?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's that confusing era of the shift of like, okay, we used to have, it's kind of like when blogs went to video. I don't know if you remember that era, but blogs were so big and we had all this reading,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden YouTube came up and it was like, what's this whole YouTube thing? And then everything went to video. We're in that same shift now with AI. It's LLMs are looking for answers, but they cannot give the answers unless it's from an authoritative source. So that was the main reasons why, one of the main reasons why I built GStacker, was because Google is looking for authoritative sources that it can rely on to send information to the LLMs. Because remember, Google is the database for pretty much every LLM that's out there. So when you see it going to the web, it's normally going to Google. You don't really depend on Yahoo for your search results anymore. I mean, I hope not. Some people I'm sure do, but it's the data centers with Google, well, Alphabet, are huge. They're massive. You cannot compete with them. So they want to provide the best answer with a backed up authoritative source. Meaning, if you're Joe's modeling and you only have one backlink, and it's your mom who's talking about you, that's not an authoritative figure to Google, nor would they recommend you to any LLM for an answer. However, if you are Joe's modeling shop and you've got some backlinks and some, let's say, your content that's been built, that's made public within your Google ecosystem, so within your Google Drive, within your Google Calendar, within your Google Doc, you've made that public and you've linked it out to other sources to show that you have an authoritative figure within this particular cluster or topic that you're talking about. Now you're going to get some more recognition, but it takes, you've got to have the schema, you've got to have the LLM text that's at the bottom, you've got to even have, all of your meta's got to be there. So there's so many things that it wants, and it doesn't make it easy. And that's the frustrating part to me. It's like, you go out and you just ask for all these people's money for ad spend because you make it too hard for them to understand how to get the rankings organically. So that's why GStacker's there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but the funny part is though, is so now you're going to get AI answers, and certainly even in Google, you got AI overviews, and so what I've noticed, it used to be the AI overviews would always be at the top, and then you'd get the sponsored links and then the organics. And now the sponsored links are quite often coming up above the AI overviews. And then maybe even the sponsored ones are below that, and then the organics are down at the bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's also got to have a pretty big impact on the business for Google, because they're not necessarily getting paid yet for those AI overview answers, where it might actually give you a link to some, to somewhere where you could actually buy something.
Right, right. It's more of an internalized, easier system to where they're knowing what your intent is behind that
Hmm.
search AI. And then per the user for your search and all of your IP addresses and all that, that's kind of how they rank that data and then associate that data with what the users are doing. But yeah, that's that they're looking to make things easier, but they just don't make it easier to do. If
Yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Absolutely. Now you've obviously done some cool stuff, and it sounds like you've got a patent pending on what you're doing with GStacker. So tell us a little bit about that and the Google verification, so that you can rank higher and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. So the patent pending on this, what I noticed when I was back at Google, when it was becoming Google, so it was Backrub, but we were working on the patent back in 97, 8, 97, 98. Um, and I remember hearing the talks and going to these meetings and hearing all this talk about patent and looking at what they were patenting, like the process and how they were patenting the process. So remember, I was there at the beginning, so I saw what that original foundational patent is. I know what that is. And I saw that there was a big gap because, with data, it comes to an apex at some point. There's only so much data you can get to before you've got to split it up and then go off into different nodes and then now divvy out those nodes in compartments so that they now are compartmentalized. That's where we are at a point right now within the AI LLM uh, chat that's coming in, content that's being produced. And what's happening is there's no culture. Like there's no cultural background that's been integrated into any of these LLMs. So someone from Brazil or someone from China or someone from Iran or someone from Uzbekistan, there is no cultural separation to show what that individual can write like or who represents them or what represents them. So I built out an algorithm because this is what we did at Google in the very beginning. I built out an algorithm that brought in all of those locales and brought in the veracity and the burstiness and the cadence of how every single culture talks across it wasn't easy, it took a long time, but how every culture talks across the world. And I put the patent pending on the cultural representation so that now when you do your chat with GStacker, it represents you as a culture. So a Vietnamese nail salon owner in Huntington Beach, they know that the images, well, GStacker knows that the images that need to be produced are representative of the affluence of Huntington Beach, along with because I did a location intelligence within there too. So it brings in the local foliage, the weather patterns, the buildings, the structures. So it knows that if she is in downtown Huntington Beach, it knows that the majority of her clients are going to be Caucasian. So it's going to represent both
Mm.
correctly. So her image will come out as a nail salon owner as her Vietnamese, and then her customers will come out as the Caucasian. Now in Atlanta, it will do a whole opposite. So I just built that into the system to make it recognize because that's what data needs, and I think that that's where things are going to be going here shortly.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Now, one thing you said earlier on was, having the backlinks, and certainly understand that, and certainly that's a result that you need for standard SEO. But for the AEO, I've interviewed quite a few different vendor marketers that are trying to specialize and offer AEO optimization services. And one of the things that they said was you have to have credibility, and you said that as well. You have to be credible. And he said that credibility is not only the backlinks, but it's also those things that you've done. And so we were talking, and he said, Guy, you as an author, you need to show as your credibility all of the different books that you've written and point to them on Amazon and point to them over here and over there and whatever. And that will then lead to my credibility being higher. Is that still true, or what's going on there?
So what's interesting about that, yes, that's true to an extent, but it's even a little bit further now because Google went ahead and they did an update March 13th or March 16th of 2026, one of the days. And what they did is this is an information gain update. And what it's saying basically is if you may have those backlinks and you may say that you have the credibility, but if there's another person that has the same amount, who out of those two or three or four has the gain of more information that people are looking for? So it's called information gain. So what they did within this patent, and this is a patent that they did, they're looking for users that are visiting sites. So let's think of the website ABC. If user goes to site A, they spend, let's say, 15 seconds. Then they bounce back, they go to site B. Now they're spending 45 seconds. They bounce back, they go to site C, and now they're there for a minute and 15 seconds. Well, a minute and 15 seconds is going to beat A by the information gained because they've gained more information on C. So that will start to rank higher than A later on. Because they're finding that it's got more information. So you always have, and that's where, and what's really cool is a little secret. When I was going through my compliance and security, all the authorization, because it's a huge process, they actually told me when I built the cultural representation, they said, this is exactly what we're looking for because it will help us tell. And their example is if Lopez gardening or Lopez landscaping in Texas is different than that in Miami. So they'll be able to tell, and that helps with the internal results that they're giving to the user, because if they're able to decipher that, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier for them to give the information.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. And I like your point about the ABC comparison. And so clearly if I'm going to go to the site C and people are staying there on average, a minute and a half versus only 15 seconds, then that site has got to be, significantly more valuable to the results of the searcher than otherwise. That makes a lot of sense. So now you also, I was reading your background and you talk about the verification crisis. And so now, as a local business owner, as the plumber or as the, HVAC or as the gardener, so what do they need to pay attention to right now with that?
So one thing that you should pay attention to is your Google Drive, your Google Docs, slides, calendar. When you're building that out within your business, any information that you want known. So let's say it's a PDF, maybe about some SOPs, or maybe it's a PDF about your process or your, trademark. I don't know, whatever it may be. Make sure that it's public. You got to make that
Mm,
public because Google now associates that position that you took with that PDF saying, okay, this user made it public. So they want it to be known. So when they run the spiders through your account to run to that Google Drive, they know you're a business. They know that this PDF is associated with it. It's public. So the next thing after that, as a business owner, is name it the right thing. You got to organize these things so that when it does run, it knows how to make the association with who you are, what you represent, what you're associated with, who you're associated with. And this could be anything that's going on within your community too. This could be like local your BNI meetings. This could be your chamber of commerce. This could be anything that's associating you with what you do, who you are, and your authoritative piece. But it starts within your drive, and they're starting to run the spiders into your drive to make those associations so the LLM calls will know. So it's really interesting what they're doing right
mm.
now. It's really interesting, really interesting.
So now, so let me just understand. So I have a PDF, and obviously I want it to be named something that makes sense and is valuable. Um, Now, is that if and it's on my Google Drive,
Mhm.
and it's now labeled as public, so then anybody can get to it. But does that also mean though that it's linked from my website for people to download, or is it just out there as some internal document that I've made public for whatever reason?
So that's where it gets really crafty. And yes, you do want to link it on your website, but you want to link it
Mm,
on your website so that it links back to your Google Drive. And then in your Google Drive, you're
mm,
going to also want to link that to a Google Doc that also holds that PDF within the Google Doc. because it's
Hmm.
another property that you make public that now Google has access to. Again, you don't, this is all the stuff that literally I did within GStacker that it does all of these things for you, because it was like, what business owner is going to go through this and try, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, who's going to try to do this? They don't have time. And why would you expect them to? You're a big conglomerate of the world, and you expect these little guys out in their locales to be like SEO and AEO experts, and they don't have the time. So yeah, the GStacker does it literally all for you. So you wouldn't, it builds the PDFs, it builds all of that for you.
Wow, I got to get it. Sign me up. I'm ready. Awesome. So now, one of the challenges, though, that a lot of companies, or these, I don't know if you call them white hat versus black hat, search engine optimizers, is they start to try and stuff stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
now, to your point, a business owner just doesn't have the time to stuff stuff. But there are people out there that are saying, "Hey, I can stuff you, and so you can win at this, at this keyword and stuff like that." How does that kind of factor in? How do you make sure that you don't get downgraded because you've been stuffing the keywords?
Yep, yep. So that was a big thing that we used to do. Keyword stuffing was, and that was a fun time. That was a lot of fun. Like that, those were the good. Um, you don't want to do that anymore. There's no, okay. Well, there are certain properties you can do that too. Don't try. Just don't do it. Let me just put it that way. Don't do it. I'm not going to lead any. I'm not a bad influence.
Yeah,
Bad influence.
fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
and that message I think has been pretty clear. Although you never, I don't know where these people think they can get away with it, but
There's a flip side to it, though, which I will say that I thought of that when I was building GStacker, because it was one of the things that was like, okay, it works if you do it the right way, but you don't want to do it spammy. So what I did within GStacker is I made sure that every single property that gets built, and there's up to like 11 at certain tiers, every single property that gets built is a unique piece of content that's based off of the topic that you're writing on. So there's no stuffing. There's multiple pieces of content that link back to you that are all about that specific topic, that are all different, related to each other. But that's what Google wants to see. They want to see how much of this do you, if you're a locksmith, do you only do homes or do you do cars? Do you do
mm,
commercial? So what are you associated with? And if you do commercial, how much of this commercial do you do? Can you handle like major locks, safes? What about environmental areas? So all of these little pieces have to be known, and Google has to make that association with you. And it
mm.
sound like it's like, well, I don't need them to know that. Well, you really kind of do, because that's what they want to associate your business as, and that's your authoritative stance within the market. So you want to be known for whatever you cover. Don't lie, of course, but whatever you cover that you want to be known for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that is just so cool. Well, I definitely, I'm ready. Put me on your list, and I'm ready to go.
It's
So
really,
does it work as a national as well as for a local, or does the regionality make too much of a difference?
so yes, it can work for national. Realize with national terms, you may be in competition with some pretty large,
Mm,
companies. However, what people have to realize is there's no magician sitting behind a curtain that's stirring some pot of some magic sauce that tell if you, it's a mathematical equation. That's what the algorithm is. It's basically saying if this many comes in, and for lack of better terms, if this much comes in and it's of a higher authority to this piece raises up. If this much comes in, it's lower than this piece raises. It's really simple. It's just a
mm,
mathematical equation. So if you hit those numbers, because there's 200 rules that Google looks at when it comes to your page. I'm sure you've heard that. So they look at 200 aspects of your web page, not your website, your web page. People remember that web page, not your website. It's just the page. So every page it reads 200 rules. The
mm.
higher you score with those 200 rules, it runs back and it's snitching you out saying, hey, this guy over here, he's got like 196 rules met. We need to come back there and check him again and push him up to the top. And then Daddy Google is going to be like, are you sure? Run it again. and it'll come back just to make sure. It'll run you again, and it'll come back. Yep, this time it had 197. Okay, go. We're gonna stamp that index. We're gonna index in our system, and we're gonna push them up. And that's how it works.
Mm.
It's just a bunch of snitches running around saying what you have on your page.
Oh, how cool is that? So, what do you think the business owner who's might be listening now and their phone has stopped ringing and they're just not getting any business? Yeah, what's the first thing they should do?
Get your Google business page set up. You've got to get a Google, especially if you don't know how the system works. Google business page is kind of like an anchor within the system.
Mm,
You can do a lot from your Google business page. You got to verify, and let it, they're going to send a card. You got to verify the number and all that stuff. But once you do that, you can do a lot with that Google business page, and it can help you get seen. And then again, your Google Drive and build your docs, build your PDFs, make sure that it's public, SEO optimized, make sure the title to those pages are optimized for what you want to be found for. And then within there's things there's little hints, like your H1s, the big titles that you see on the page, those have to be in line. Your images have to be
mm,
named a certain thing. What GStacker also does for your images, it'll geolocate your images to your location. So that way Google now is associating all the images that get built with your content now with your address, now with the locale area of the services that you service. So I really try to think of everything when I push this out there so that other businesses didn't have to think of these things because nobody
yeah,
would.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, fascinating. It's just really cool. And it's funny because I was reading an article the other day, and if you look at the traditional funnel, you have awareness, intent, desire, action, AIDA, and but in reality, I think at least for maybe, some moderately considered brands or categories, it's very different. It's now kind of information gathering, so it's search. And then maybe more information gathering, and then finally, you get down to the funnel, and that whole funnel is now very different. And search is such a key item, at the top of the funnel. I mean, I know that there's 100 HVAC companies just here, within 5 miles of my house. But how do I find the one that, is going to give me a good price or going to be reliable and is going to stand behind whatever? And so that whole funnel is now totally different. And getting it
Yes.
at the top of the funnel, like what you're doing with GStacker, seems to make a lot of sense.
And I think what people will see is going to happen is you're going, like you said, you're going through that funnel and you're trying to find again your best HVAC. Your best HVAC may be different than Miss Martha's across the street. She may want to deal with someone who's been in business 65 years, and she's, where you may want the newer guy that's got the newest equipment. So soon things are going to change toward really the intention of what you want as the user is going to align. And that's where I truly believe the whole culture aspect, location aspect is going to come into play, because I think people are going to start to be able to really fine tune everything that they want being brought back to them in the way that they,
Mm.
in their specific voice, which is what I was finding a lot of people were frustrated with.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. So, wow, this is really, I'm so excited, and I'm excited for you once you finally launch and get out there.
Well, we
Um,
launched we actually have, I launched in March, and now I'm at like 565 users.
all
I
right.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was going to go like this big. I thought it was going to slowly ramp, but it's gone really wild.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, I've
Well,
already had
congratulations. That's fantastic.
two server updates. I've already had to move my server twice.
Oh, yep, yeah, and I'm sure that was painful. But in any case, before we close, I do have one last question for you. This is about AI and marketing, and what advice would you give an up and coming new marketer that's trying to break in as a new marketer in the world?
you know, I think if you're a new marketer, what you should really be focusing on right now is learning how you can use AI for your processes. So, not meaning prompting. The prompting is a whole thing that I think a lot of people are going to get stuck behind. There's a process called looping where it's just the loop and your agents are going through the loop, and it's its own agency. So if you're a marketing agency, really focus on learning how to prompt loops, and get the loop going within your system instead of prompting. Prompting is like little piece where looping is like the whole system. And if you can learn that and build off of that, and the other piece is find the solution to the problem of whatever you're marketing for. So if you're a luxury yacht detailer, find the problem that you're solving and then push that out there. That needs to be what you're talking about, not what you think, like as the business owner, I do this so much better. No, what is the problem that you're solving? That is honestly probably the best advice I could give.
Well, and you are so right. And actually, that's because that is what marketers are trying to do is, and then of course make money at it. But is if there's a problem and I can find a solution to it, just like what you're doing for the local business owner that just doesn't have time after they've spent 8 or 10 hours in a hot attic trying to fix the air conditioner all day or whatever. I don't know, and then try and come home and figure out how to optimize so they can have clicks to their website. That makes a lot of sense. Well, just fantastic. Ferdinand, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So where can folks find out more about you and your company?
Yeah, just go gstacker.com. You can go there at any time and see. We're launching some new pieces to that, but I would say gstacker.com is probably the best place because that's where I'm at right now. That's my baby. That I'm building that thing out to be really awesome. I just launched nationwide into India, Mexico, and Brazil. Actually,
Wow.
yesterday. Yeah, so it's getting really big. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. It's awesome.
That is so cool. Well, fantastic. So, anyway, thank you so much, Ferdinand. It's been great, and I'm really excited for you. And definitely, we'll take a look at what you're doing and see how I can learn from that, and hopefully find some good value out of what you're doing. I'm sure I can, and because search is really so important to any business today. For the audience, though, please stay tuned for many other videos in this series on the backstory on marketing and AI. And I am no longer the author of the upcoming book. I am the author of the book. It is there. It's on Amazon. You can load it to your Kindle, 99 cents, or you can, order the print copy as well and find it on Amazon. The AI Marketing Machine from Guy Powell. Ferdinand, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Guy. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Absolutely. You too.